welcome back to McFadden Family Homestead. My name is Samantha. Today we're going to bring you something that we've not yet brought on the channel. We are going to have a massive breakfast freezer cooking video. I have found that in my journey to have more scratch made, not buy so much store-bought, have things as organic as possible. The need for convenience is absolutely imperative, especially because I have children. My children are 13 and 9, and breakfast, I've noticed, has really kind of become a problem. And because there's not really a lot of grab and go type stuff, there's constant requests for like going and grabbing fast food breakfast, which fast food breakfast admittedly has been a weakness of mine, definitely just throughout my adult life. But I'm really trying, and we're actually doing really well, avoiding going out, hardly at all, and being really, really intentional when we do. But breakfast is still, they're kind of spoiled a little bit with that. Oftentimes we'll pick up something Sunday mornings, and that's what they want. So my goal is to really try and have a large variety of breakfast options that are ready to go with very little effort and very convenient. And I'm doing a very long list of things, and it'll probably be like several months supply of breakfast for us, but I really think it will help us in our efforts to just, we're eating better, scratch made, and hopefully they will be on board and be okay with, microwaving those pancakes or toasting those waffles or, whatever it is, to have breakfast, in the morning, whether it's before school or church or on the weekends or what have you. But so we've got a big long list. Today, a lot of the things, this is going to be a 2-day thing. I pick up my Azure order tomorrow, so currently I do not have any all-purpose flour in my house at all. So I pick that up at 8 a.m. in the morning tomorrow, and so we'll be doing a lot of the things like pancakes and waffles and things that require the flour tomorrow. Today is going to be a lot of egg-based type stuff. So our goal for today is to make breakfast burritos, to make English muffin breakfast sandwiches, to make some breakfast casseroles, and some just like individual breakfast bowls, and then probably also French toast. And I am using store-bought bread for the French toast, but I think we can accomplish that today as well. So I've got my sausage thawing. I decided to just pull out whatever sausage I had in the freezer and just cook it all to make sure that I have plenty for what I'm doing today. And then if there's any extra, I can just freeze cooked sausage. I only pulled out a pound of bacon. I don't think I'll need more than that for what I want to do today. But my first step in all of this is that I need to do some rearranging in my freezers to make sure that I have space. Right now, the freezer that we have here at the bottom of my refrigerator is primarily holding vegetables and stuff, and then there's some vegetables out there. And so what I think I want to do is just put all of the frozen vegetables that we had saved and preserved from our garden last year in the same refrigerator or freezer rather, and turn this one into the like breakfast foods freezer, so that it's here, it's in the kitchen, it's convenient. All they have to do is just go in there, see what they want, and grab it. And some things, have to be thought of like the day before. The sandwiches are always better if they're actually thawed before you heat them up. They heat more evenly. But I'm very excited about this. I did find, it's very dirty. I haven't washed it yet. I will be washing it. But this is that muffin top pan that I talked about in one of my previous videos. I'll be using this to make the eggs for the breakfast sandwiches because I just think this is going to work out better. So I got to wash that up and do some rearranging, and then we will get to cooking up some stuff and putting a lot of breakfast together, and I'm so excited. I really hope you're going to enjoy this, and thanks for coming along for the ride. think our plan of action to start is going to be breakfast burritos. If I didn't already mention it, I am going to use store-bought tortillas for this. One, for their uniform size, mainly, is the reason. Two, I still don't have flour till tomorrow. One of my, I think, a priority on my next Azure order is they do have organic large tortillas, and I think I'm going to purchase some of those, a few packages of those to like keep in the freezer. I really like making the homemade tortillas for when we have tacos or enchiladas or you know, whatever, you know, we want them for, but especially for things like this where you need a whole lot like at once, and you don't really have the time to make them. It'd be nice to know that there's like, you know, some organic, you know, healthier choices already in the freezer. So I think that's going to be a priority on my next Azure order. So I'm going to get out my blender because I'm not going to whisk like 60 eggs. For my burritos, I've got 16 burritos, which was it. Usually anytime I make breakfast burritos and stuff, it's about what I get. I get about 16 or 17 out of the batch, and I will use 18 eggs for that. I will use a pound of bulk sausage, and I will just throw however many peppers looks good in there to me. Salt, pepper for seasoning. These are peppers that we grew last year in our garden that I had froze, chopped them up. I've got tons of these, as you probably saw while I was pulling things out of the freezer. Not quite as many as I have cherry tomatoes, but I do have quite a lot of peppers. And what I did was I just diced them up and I laid them all out on a sheet pan on a piece of parchment paper, and I froze them like that. And then once they were frozen, I pulled them off and put them in, well, I vacuum sealed them. Most of them are vacuum sealed. This was a package that I had opened and didn't seal back up. I just put it in a freezer bag. I figured it would be used up before, you know, freezer burn or anything would set in. We probably will use most of these today because we're going to use them in the breakfast casseroles as well that we'll end up making. So that is where we're going to start. So let's see how this goes. Okay, my apologies for the background noise that you're going to hear. My dishwasher's going and I've got the fan blowing on my plants that are sitting over here next to me. But I'm getting ready to assemble the burritos. So you saw me cook the sausage. I just added the peppers in, the eggs that I had blended up in the blender with salt and pepper. And I have been kind of stirring this for a little while, letting it cool in things so that it's not super hot, because my goal is just to make these up, get them in the freezer bags, and put them directly into the freezer. So I want the mixture to cool down some and not be super hot when it gets ready to go into the freezer. You can use any kind of cheese you want. I'm using American cheese here. I'm going to label my freezer bags and get those ready to go. We're just going to lay out the large burrito tortillas. I usually tear the cheese slice in half, lay that down, lay the mixture. Probably, I guess it's probably maybe going to be like about a half a cup, and then just
I fold it over, I fold in the sides, and then I roll it up. I try to wrap these up fairly tightly. It's just how I like to do it. Um, to reheat these, they do reheat a lot better if they are thawed out. If you've pulled them out and you put them in the refrigerator the night before, they will reheat a lot nicer. But you can reheat them from frozen. It's not impossible. If they're thawed, I usually heat them up for about a minute, and I'll kind of like flip it over, or I might cut it in half, and then if it's still a little bit cold in the middle, you know, put it in for like another 20 seconds or something. If it's from frozen, it is absolutely going to reheat unevenly, so I always kind of start it at a minute. Sometimes I put it on auto defrost, but I'm not really sure that that does anything. But at least a minute, and then I'll definitely cut it in half and just kind of see how cold, you know, it still is. And it might be 25 seconds, it might be 45 seconds, just depending. But you can, you know, reheat them from frozen. It's not impossible. And so I think I get, what did I say I had, like 17 or, no, it's 16. I have 16 tortillas to make these up on this day. So this is how we do breakfast burritos. Next, we're making baked oatmeal bars. It's oats, mashed bananas. These are bananas I had in the freezer. Water, salt, pure maple syrup or honey, oil, nut butter, or additional water. I used an almond butter that I had on hand, vanilla, and then sprinkled chocolate chips on the top. This was really good. I'm actually enjoying this. I cut them into bars and had individually wrapped them, and so I'll pull them out, you know, the night before or whatever, and I'll have it as a kind of like a breakfast before I leave for work. I think it worked out pretty good. They're soft. It's you know, it's a soft bar, but they hold up really good, and they've got really wonderful flavor. It's a great way to use those bananas that were getting ready to go bad, that you tucked away in your freezer for a rainy day. I've been doing that a lot, and this is a great recipe for that. And this is the baked oatmeal out of the oven. It did take quite a long time to cool. It has to cool completely to be able to slice it and then wrap it up in plastic. So it took quite some time. I was glad I started it early. These are the breakfast bowls that I was trying. I've never actually done anything like this. I probably had about a third of a bag of like diced potatoes, frozen diced potatoes in the freezer. So I just went ahead and cooked those up, browned those up a little bit with some salt and pepper. I've got some bacon down there in the left corner of the screen. I chopped up some bacon. This is this, and then to the right is the sausage. I've got some green peppers there in a bag, and the eggs that are in the blender is probably what I'm going to go ahead and scramble up. Because what I do is I put the potatoes in, I put the meat in. Some of them I put peppers, some of them I didn't. And I'm just going to top it with scrambled eggs. I didn't put any cheese or anything in there. Everything except for the like burritos or whatever. I kind of like the sandwiches that I end up making a little bit later. I just left the cheese off because when you go to like reheat it and it's got cheese on it from the freezer, the cheese melts like, you know, almost instantly before the food's even hot, and then it just kind of like melts into nothingness. So I decided to just kind of leave cheese off of there. There's always cheese in the fridge, so if you pull out a sandwich, then you can put a piece of cheese on it before you go to heat it up or get some shredded cheese. Okay, so I lied. I'm actually going to put the eggs on first before the meat. But so I've got my eggs scrambled up, and I'm just going to divide what I've made there among the 6 bowls. I kind of felt like 6 was about all I could get away with the amount of potatoes that I had. I'm just going to go ahead and fill those up, and then I'll put bacon on some, sausage on others, make a couple with peppers, a couple without, in case the kids don't want peppers in theirs. My son has had one of these, and he really enjoyed it. I have eaten a couple of them, and I have enjoyed it. It's really not that bad, you know. Is it better fresh? Of course. But, you know, the convenience absolutely, you know, can be worth it. And I'm just going to put these off to the side because, again, I want them to be cooled completely before I put lids on them and get them in the freezer. Okay, so now we're going to move on to breakfast casseroles. I've got some bacon there on the left. That's the cooked sausage on the right. I'm going to do 4 of these. These are like 8 by 8 disposable pans. Sometimes I wash these and reuse them. Sometimes I pitch them. It just depends on the day, really, but and how damaged, you know, the pan gets or whatever in the process of cooking and things. I put bread in my breakfast casserole. I guess maybe that's technically like a strata. You know, you can do this without bread. It can just be the eggs. You can put potatoes in here. This really is just kind of up to you and your own creativity and whatever, you know, you want to do. I just find this to be a very good way to use up leftover breads. If I have like a couple of heels or something that I don't want to throw in the trash, I'll put it in the freezer. There's some homemade bread that we've made that no one's really eating and it's about to, you know, might start molding, you know, or going bad. I just dice it up and I put it in the freezer, you know, and then I pull it out and I make things like this. So 2 of these are the sausage. I think it's the sausage, cheddar, and green peppers, and then the bacon went into it's bacon, green pepper, and pepper jack cheese. I looked ahead in this video and counted, and there's I started out with like 26 eggs or something, and I'm gonna go in and end up having to put more in there. Ends up being a total of I think about 3 dozen eggs to make these 4 breakfast casseroles. But I just went ahead and employed my blender again, and I do add a little bit of milk to it, salt and pepper, season the eggs, and I'm going to pour it on top. I really like breakfast casseroles. I would definitely recommend pulling them out like the night before or the day before to get them thawed out before you bake them. This is one of those things that I make that I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to as far as like, hey, how much time does this, you know, actually take to make? I just started it, you know, whatever. I usually bake them probably around 350. And I probably started out around like 25 minutes and kind of go from there because it's not really a set time. You know, sometimes are going to bake up faster than others depending on how thick it is, how dense your bread is, how, you know, just lots of things. But I kind of started at 25 minutes and then I just kind of go from there, you know, and however much longer, you know, I think it needs. I actually just made one this past weekend for us, and I mean, I think it took probably 35 minutes at least, maybe 40 minutes in all. And I will kind of just loosely, I'll take the lid off and just loosely set it on the top and do most of the baking that way. So it doesn't like overly brown or anything on the top. It kind of souffles up, you know, as it's baking, and then it'll last like 5-ish or so minutes, 5 to 10 maybe. I'll take that off and let it finish baking without the lid on it. And so I just folded a piece of parchment and put that down, and just put the lid on. Everything in this is cold, so I don't have to worry about letting it cool or anything before I put it in the freezer, and I just put them straight in there. Now sometimes if I think this is going to be stored for a long time, I'll wrap it up in a couple layers of plastic wrap. This one I realized had a leaky pan, so I had to kind of take everything out and get it in. Just had a hole in it for some reason. And this is that muffin top pan that I told you about. So I'm going to make the eggs for the English muffin breakfast sandwiches that we're going to make. So I'm just going to crack all these in here. I'm probably going to break the yolk. I have not looked ahead yet on this. As I'm doing the voiceover, I've been away from this video for a little bit, but I think I cracked the yolk on it, and I'll salt and pepper them and get them seasoned and ready to go. They were probably a little bit overcooked. I think I put them in for about 20 minutes. They probably didn't need that long. Probably should have started checking them around 12 minutes because this is so shallow. in my muffin tin, when I make like egg cups or whatever, they take straight up 20 minutes and they're done. But these, where it's a little more shallow, the eggs probably were definitely overcooked, and I probably would say about around 10 or 12 minutes. I probably should have checked it, just to see, gauge how much longer than it needed to be cooked. But this did a great job. And as far as an English muffin sandwich, or if you were going to make a biscuit sandwich or something, this works great because it's just the perfect shape and they're cooking all at once and it works out wonderful. So I'm just going to go ahead and season those up, and I baked these at 375 whenever I'm cooking eggs in the oven. I usually have a standard of 375 degrees temperature on the oven. Next, we have French toast casserole, which is essentially the same thing, just random breads and stuff that I had in the freezer. It makes the eggs, the milk, cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, all together. That is, what is it? 16 eggs. Do math, it's a little bit early this morning. My brain's not ready for math. It's 16 eggs, your standard French toast, custard mix, and same thing, parchment and the lid straight into the freezer. So now that the eggs are cooked, we're going to go ahead and assemble the sandwiches. 6 of these sandwiches I toasted, 6 of them I did not. I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's been a while now since I did this, but I think some of my English muffins might have been like partially frozen or something, and maybe that's why I didn't toast them, because I was going to refreeze them. I can't remember. Anyway, I wanted to test because I've never toasted them before. I've made these before, and I didn't like pre-toast the bread or anything before, and Becky does that whenever she makes hers, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if that adds something to it or not. And I actually ate one this morning, and it does kind of still have that, toasty flavor. Does it have that toasty texture? Not really. It just came out of the freezer and then it went in the microwave. But it does kind of add a little bit of sort of toasty flavor to it. So I would recommend that. I think it's worth doing, but certainly you don't have to. It's not, required in any way. So I just labeled my freezer bags. I'm just assembling these. This sausage, I think I did go ahead and brown the sausage. It was a frozen sausage, but I think I went ahead and browned it so that it would be, really good on the sandwich. I don't think I put it straight frozen on the sandwich. But I'm just going to wrap these up, and then I'm going to put them in freezer bags, and that's how I'm going to store them. And I've cooked these from frozen, actually, where I've just taken the egg and the meat off and heated that up first, and then heated the bread for a little bit less time, and they work out fantastic. I really have been enjoying those a lot, actually. So to end our epic breakfast day 1 video, I thought I would share some lunch that I had for that day. I kind of had a hankering for spinach and artichoke dip. It's not something that I have made, in quite some time. And I had all of the elements except for the artichokes. So I just picked up a small jar of those when I had went to the store. But I had this like half a thing of fresh spinach left over from another recipe that I had made sometime that week. I like my artichokes chopped fine. I don't like big chunks of them. I just kind of like them hidden in there. So I'm just going to saute this together, let the butter melt down, let the spinach wilt a little bit, and just heat everything up real good, and then we'll add the cream. I don't add any kind of flour or anything to this. I don't find that it's necessary. Just waiting for the spinach to get kind of really good and wilted, and then I add the cream in, and I let the cream just kind of sit there and simmer for a while, and let it simmer and kind of reduce, and it sort of thickens up on its own. And then by the time you put the cheese in, it's really nice and thick and creamy, and there's just really no need for any kind of extra thickeners of any kind. Just going to toss this around a little bit. You can see the spinach is really starting to cook down real good. This was probably maybe like a cup, probably like a cup of cream, maybe a little bit more. I don't think I had that whole container's worth. That was just part of a container that I had in the fridge that was just trying to use up. So I do put quite a bit of cheese in here. I'm going to stir this around, let that kind of melt down and get really nice and creamy, and then I end up adding a little bit more cheese, and I will add salt and pepper to this, and then I'm just going to snack on this with some tortilla chips that I really enjoy. I really like creamed spinach just in general. I haven't made it very much lately, and I certainly hadn't made this in a really long time. I used to make it with mayonnaise, and bake it in the oven was one of the first ways that it was like introduced to me to make at home, but I think this works out so much better. This is kind of more in line with what you get at a restaurant. So certainly it would be good with, like, some bread or pieces of baguette or crostini or something like that. But I had tortilla chips on this day, and so that's what I had for lunch, and it was absolutely delicious. It was a really long morning. It was several hours of cooking, and it really was just a lot of fun. So I thank you so much for hanging out in this epic breakfast video. This is part 1. Part 2 will be coming to you very soon. Friends, like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw, and we'll see you in the next video.